Hey, I am DROdio, the CEO of Storytell, and as a part of my How I Use AI Day to Day as a CEO Substack, I'm going to do a video of something that I am about to do for the company, which is to take a new feature that we're shipping, which is a GitHub pull request that we have just merged to production, and turn that into some public-facing documentation and information about this new feature, but also not just that, also use it to deepen what Storytell understands about itself. And I'll show you how I use that in my prompting. So this is a bit of a meta video that we've shipped a feature. We're going to be explaining that feature to Storytell so that it can describe itself to others more effectively. All right, so let's get into it. We've got a project called Storytell Marketing and Product Marketing. This is where we put basically technical functionality about Storytell so that we can then turn that into marketing language that, you know, an external person who is not inside the company will understand. And we always strive for data-driven storytelling. In fact, the reason Storytell exists is to be able to do things like this. Think about in companies how often there's amazing things happening inside the company, and then there's a marketing team that ends up creating just some a very kind of poor facsimile or representation of the goodness that's actually happening inside the company. Well, Storytell exists to make that process better and more data-driven as a part of our larger goal of distilling signal from noise. And so the signal here is what Storytell's capabilities are in a way that we can explain to the world. So I'm actually going to start not in this project, but I'm going to start in Linear, which is our task management system for engineering work. So here are all of our engineering issues, and issue, if you're not familiar with Linear, just is basically like tickets or tasks, work that is either to be done or has been done. And I'm going to create a view of this where I'm going to find everything that we have done and released or is releasable. Also, I'll take things that are where the pull request is in review, so the work's been done, it's about to go out into the world. And so we'll take these different stages and we're just going to find everything here that matches. So just give me a second to do that. So what I'm not including here is work that's in the backlog, meaning work that we have not yet done. This is just for us to be able to see everything that we've done. And I'm going to save this. I call it engineering all work we have shipped. So now I've saved that as a view. Now what I can do with this view that I can export these issues or these tickets as a CSV. And so what I'm doing now is I'm making a CSV that has all of our linear issues here. And so now I'm going to load this into Storytell. And that's very easy to do. I can either say upload files and then I can choose here, or I can also, instead of hitting upload files, I can literally just drag it in and I will see that it says drop files here. And so I'll go ahead and do that. So now this is added to the project knowledge section. And by the way, it opens automatically, but I can get to project knowledge just by clicking here where it says project knowledge. So I can open and close my project knowledge. And now I'm going to label this. So here is the CSV, and I'm going to label this. I'll label it as linear data. And these labels are labels that we just make manually. I'll make a new label as well, just to show you. We'll call it Storytell Capabilities. And I'm going to say create new label. I can choose a icon for this, and I'm going to say create new label. So now we've got this labeled as Storytell Capabilities. It's a very specific piece of functionality that we just are launching to production, which is the ability for Storytell to search social media like X, GitHub, and other categories. And so we can see here that there's a pull request around this that we've merged, and I want to specifically talk about this. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to use our Chrome extension. So I've got the Storytell Chrome extension here. And with this, I'm able to ingest content that is where I'm in a non-public place, like our GitHub account is password protected. But because I'm using the Chrome extension and I can see this page because I'm logged in, I can ingest it into Storytell. And so the Chrome extension is a great way to be able to add knowledge into Storytell when it's not across the open web, but it's behind a login page. So I'm going to go ahead and say that I want to ingest this page. So I'm doing that now. Not only do I want to ingest this page, but I'm going to also ingest the code. Okay, now when I hit the chat button in the Chrome extension, I'm able to chat with this specific functionality. We can see that I'm chatting with this specific page that I just ingested. This is where our CX team is able to write a change log from this. So I'll show you what that looks like. We like to use the Smart Brevity framework. So we can see that we're already chatting with this one page. And now we can see that Storytell is giving me a better version of the prompt. So I've got 5 improved versions that I can choose between here. And I'll kind of choose which one I want. And so let's go with this one. So I'm going to say submit this one instead. I could also edit it if I wanted to. And so now Storytell is going to focus on just this one file. Now there's a lot more than just this one file in the project. You remember we just added, for example, go back to project knowledge here. We just added all of the Storytell capabilities with the work that we've done. So we're going to come back to that. But right now we're telling Storytell that we just want to chat with this one file. And we can see here, this is great. It is giving me a great answer here. We've got what's new, why it matters, key features, and in fact, I really want to dig into these key features more. So I'm going to highlight these key features here, and I'm going to say that I want to chat with them. When I highlight text in Storytell, I have the opportunity to copy the text, to chat with the text, to visualize it, to go deeper, to do a web search. So I'm going to say chat with. I want to chat with just this part of the text so we can see that it's been put right here. Here I'm saying I want to highlight these specialized search categories in more detail based on everything you know about, and then I'm going to say at, and I'm going to start typing CAPA, and then we can see that this label pops up based on everything you know about Storytell capabilities. So I'm asking it to rewrite the full change log with a deeper emphasis on these points. And so now here is another version of this. And this is great, right? This is exactly the kind of data-driven storytelling that we want to do with Storytell. Make, compelling, true language that really highlights what is possible. And so this is exactly the kind of thing that I'm just so excited to get out into the world and to tell people exists. So now this is looking really good. And we also want to improve our Storytell documentation to talk about this new feature. So that's the next thing we're going to do. Okay, so we're going to ask Storytell to go find the documentation that talks about web search and rewrite it with these new capabilities. And so let's let Storytell go do that for us as well. And so here we go. It has found the page, and it is giving us more depth. And again, I just want to improve this because we are using a tool. Storytell uses tools to produce outcomes, and one of the tools that we're using is EXA. And I want to make it clear, we think EXA is great. I want to make it clear that Storytell is improving the way that we use this tool as a part of this documentation. If I've rewritten this here, and I'm asking Storytell to basically go learn about how the platform uses tools, and then rewrite the documentation around that. Great, Storytell is a fully agentic system, so it thinks on its own, it makes decisions on its own, and all of that is in this section. So if you want to get visibility and an understanding as to what it's doing, you can just open this section up, and then you can see what it's choosing to do. So Storytell is choosing to do some reasoning. You can click into each of these reasoning steps. So for example, doing web searches here. It's searching through the knowledge that we have internally. And now it's giving me an answer. And when it can't find something, like if it doesn't find, I'm not finding something, then it will go figure out how to get it done a different way, which it's doing here. Now we can see that it's giving me a much more specific answer, which is great. Okay, so now I can share this with our CX team to build out our change log and our documentation. In Storytell, you can invite others into a project, and now they already have access, but I can either invite people as an owner, a collaborator, or a reader, and those project roles are defined here. So if they didn't yet have access, I could invite them in as owners or collaborators right here. I would have that link to share with them. I can also invite people in the project management page by email, so I could send personalized emails, or what we've done is we've just given domain access. So anybody from Storytell who joins Storytell, we're all obviously in our own platform, but anybody at this domain with an email at this domain will just automatically have access to this project. So it's a really nice way to be able to share projects with fine-grained control. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hover over the title of the answer that I like, and we can see there's a little link just to this part. And so I'm going to share this with them. I'm also going to, there's these little buttons here for next and previous prompts. I'm going to go down to the next prompt where so this is so that first one was for the change log. This one is for the documentation. And then the next prompt has the version of the documentation that is, even better in terms of a tools perspective. So I'm just going to share those 3 links with them and let them put it into the actual docs as they see fit. I can also ask Storytell to write a LinkedIn post about this new functionality, and I'm going to do something even more specific there. We also have a linear project for how users are using Storytell. So we call this the jobs to be done framework, which you may be familiar with. Every user has a job they're trying to get done. I can't show you the details here, but I can give you a high level. We actually use Storytell to help us understand how people are using Storytell. And so we look at and we work to optimize for those different types of use cases, which span everything from analyzing and visualizing geographic distribution of a bunch of unstructured data, planning and designing school campuses, ad ratings forecasting, all the way through, strategic planning, QBR, et cetera. So there's all sorts of ways that people use Storytell to make sense of unstructured data. Well, I'm going to also export this into our Storytell, our private Storytell project, so that we can write a LinkedIn post that is most tailored to the people that are actually using Storytell. So now I've got this CSV, and I'm just going to drop this CSV in as well. And what we can see is that now we have in scope not just this one GitHub document, but also we have this linear CSV. So now we're using Storytell to make sense of a bunch of code that came from GitHub and a big CSV that came from linear, so that we can write something that is targeted towards the people who can actually get value from it. That's pretty awesome. And I'm going to use the @mention functionality here. So I typed @ and I'm typing how user because I want to grab this how users are using Storytell. And I'm going to specifically reference that in a specific way. I mean, to me as a CEO, it is so exciting to be able to take the way users are actually using Storytell from a CSV and write a blog post about it, provide 20 expanded use case ideas for those users based on this new feature. I mean, it's just magical to be able to combine these disparate data sets that are really across different departments, right? One is product and customer success, and the other is engineering. And to be able to tell a unified joint story across those disparate siloed groups with their own systems, GitHub versus linear, it's just so cool. I'm going to ask for a blog post and a condensed LinkedIn post as well. So we'll get that done here. By the way, great little feature of Storytell. If a document is still processing, we'll let you know. So I'll just say notify me. And now here we go. One super cool thing that Storytell does when you load a CSV into Storytell, we actually crawl the schema of the CSV, we extract the data, we spin up an ephemeral database, we load the data into that ephemeral database, and then we have Storytell write SQL queries against the data. So we're basically structuring the data. I have to blur this part out since it's got sensitive data, but we can see that Storytell is choosing to look to see the different types of issues and requests. It's choosing to look to see what types of problems users are experiencing, what functionality they need, and it's got the reasons why it's looking to do this. So Storytell is making the decisions of what type of querying to do. Now we're getting a very specific blog post here, which is just phenomenal. Okay, hope that helps you get a good understanding of how you can use Storytell to really de-silo systems across departments, be able to use otherwise incompatible file types, CSVs and PDFs, and Storytell really excels at letting you bring things together and then do very deep data-driven storytelling to achieve objectives that are just unattainable otherwise. So also, I am always happy to get on calls with users that want to try doing impossible things to see what Storytell's capabilities are. I'm often surprised by what's possible. So don't be shy about reaching out and telling us about your desired use case. Thanks.